And welcome back. This is your man Warrior, and this is another patron roster review. This is Gundam from the Prime Odor. The Prime Odor. What's up, you guys? And doing very well in Arena and Fleet. Been playing for a little under a year and is definitely a whale. Wants to know a little bit about staying ahead of the curve with Fleet, and then some dark side. He's got a lot of light side focus, so some dark side focus with some Zetas for the dark side, and we're going to go through all of that pretty easy. But the Fleet is the first thing, and the team you're using is great. It'll get you #1 every day, but you're right, you do need to branch out. After looking at your roster, I noticed you're really singularly focused. You got one team totally tricked out, and that's it. Everything else is virtually ignored, and that is going to be a problem down the road when people start to diversify. And there is so much to ships. You definitely want to have at least a second team for territory battles, territory wars, for Grand Arena and more. Plus, you want to be able to, finish off all of the ship nodes that are in the game. So, but the #1 ship group that I would highly recommend, just like my last roster review, is actually the Geos, Geo Soldier, Geo Spy, Geo Sunfax, Geonosian Starfighter. These ships are the most synergistic ships in the game, period, hands down. And in my leaderboard, I still have 10 people in the top 20 using Geos with a Houndstooth, and they're crushing it. They're still able to cruise right through anybody's teams, and it's great for diversifying. You can't go wrong. These are 3 ships that if you invest in, you look back and go, man, I'm glad I did that. There are others like Anakin's ETA-2. I would highly recommend that as well. You need him maxed out as well as his ship, but you are a whale. But that is one of the best reinforcement ships in the game as we speak, and TIE Advanced. But you have your TIE Advanced pretty well done, so let's ignore TIE Advanced. So the ETA-2 and the Geos, those are the 4 ships I would recommend, and make sure to get any of your reinforcement abilities maxed on your reinforcements, and then get your crew members up on any ship you plan on using. Now, some happy mentions for reinforcements would be like Phantom and Ghost and Cassian's U-Wing and Lando's Millennium Falcon, Xanadu Blood. These are all really, really great ships you can focus on. But more important than all of those, because you already have your arena team done, get your Geos up. Really, really important to get those guys up. They're going to really help you in the long term. Now, really quick, I was just going through your roster, and for 1 year, things are looking pretty amazing. You can see quite a bit of development. You have a lot of characters at 7-star. What this means is if I give you a strategy, you're going to be able to run with it, because you basically have that character unlocked and leveled up, or at least starred up, and then you can kind of run with it. But looking at your roster, you've got most of the characters already unlocked. Looks really, really good. Let's work on 3 dark side teams that are going to help you with territory wars, territory battles, the Sith raid, as well as Grand Arena. We're going to talk about, like 4 teams that you should really focus on the dark side. Now, the first you're actually almost done with is Bounty Hunters. Boba Fett and Bosk look great. Now, this is one of the Zetas I would highly recommend is Bosk lead Zeta, and your Dengar and Cad Bane are fine. Now, after that, it depends. If you're going to do Sith Raid Phase 3, then Aura Singh Leadership Zeta would be highly recommended, and finish her off. But of all of them, also, Embo and Jango are amazing, so you may want to consider those, with Jango Fett being an alternate leader to a secondary bounty hunter team when you eventually decide to do that. So I do recommend, since you're a whale, to kind of look at and possibly think about, leveling up Aura Singh and Jango Fett and possibly Embo. But bounty hunters in general are amazing. You can't go wrong with any of them. Boba Fett has a ship. Bosk has a ship. Greedo, IG-88, or Cad Bane, IG-88. They've got lots of really great ships in the game. And then you're going to be able to diversify and have multiple bounty hunter teams. But Aura Singh will help you in that Phase 3 of the Sith raid, which is something you thought you were kind of trudging through. And then Jango Fett would be my all-time #1 pick of somebody to gear up and star up. He makes a phenomenal offensive leader for anytime you're doing offense for like Grand Arena or Territory Wars. Again, the only Zeta that's really necessary on this team is Bosk lead, but Aura Singh Zeta would be great for phase 3 of the Sith raid. Now, this is kind of a staple and has been for a long time, and most of First Order have ships, and so you can't go wrong by developing any of these guys. In fact, everybody on the first row is involved with a ship, and so is the bottom. I mean, literally, First Order Executioner is the only one that doesn't have a ship, but you need at least one Zeta on this team. That's Kylo Ren Unmasked, and even where your development is, you dropping a single Zeta on Kylo Ren Unmasked turns this team from almost unusable to amazing with one Zeta as far as durability goes. The key obviously being First Order Officer very fast, and or Kylo Ren really, really fast as you can. But this is one Zeta. Get everybody to at least gear 11, and then First Order Executioner should become a extreme high priority. I don't know a single First Order team that doesn't use First Order Executioner. He's absolutely amazing. The third team is going to be General Veers leading the Imperial Troopers. And again, another faction that only really requires one Zeta to pop. You know, put one Zeta on Bosk and boom, those guys are amazing. Put one Zeta on Crew and boom, those guys are amazing. Put one Zeta on Veers and boom, these guys are amazing. Colonel Stark, Shore Trooper, Snow Trooper, Death Trooper, and at a minimum, Range Trooper. Now, I know that's 6 of them, but I would at a minimum recommend developing those 6 because those are the top 6. Stormtrooper is solid as a tank, and Magma Trooper is a specialty character that you can use in certain circumstances. If you decide to really go deep in Imperial Troopers and farming this faction, then you might just want to max them all out, being that you're a whale. But hyper focus on Veers, Stark, and Range Trooper right now, because those are your 3 that are looking really, really sad. And remember, General Veers is the only Zeta that you really need to make this entire thing pop. And if I was going to prioritize all of these guys, I would put Veers below Kylo Ren Unmasked, just simply because you're closer to your First Order team to have it done and completed, and then you can move on to your Imperial Troopers. And the fourth team for Dark Side and Zetas and stuff to focus on would be Sith. And there are a couple of characters in here you definitely want to focus on, but at a minimum, Darth Sion and Darth Nihilus and Bastila Shan Fallen. Bastila Shan Fallen is to date one of the best Sith in the game, top 5 best Sith in the game. And same thing with Darth Nihilus and Sion. You're going to want them anyway eventually when you get Darth Traya. So those 3 are underdeveloped for everybody else. Emperor Palpatine looks good, Vader looks good, and of course others will say, well, Sith Assassin's good and Sith Trooper's good, but you're going to get stretched a little too thin. So I'm trying to hyper focus you on 3 characters from this faction that are highly important to the game that you really need, and that's the Darth Nihilus and Sion combo. Even without Traya, they're amazing. And then Bastila Shan Fallen, and you'd be surprised what Emperor Palpatine lead with those 3 plus Vader can do in the game. Now, all in all, you've done really well about, in less than a year, unlocking the majority of really important characters. But we did talk about Bosk, and the Bounty Hunters crew for the First Order, Veers for your Imperial Troopers, and of course your Sith focus for the future. Those are 4 dark side teams that you really want to focus on. But Old Republic is one of those faction tags that if you were going to pick a particular faction to really dig into for future development, not for past development that's known, but for future potential, this is the faction that you would want to really pay attention to. The Old Republic is amazing. Every character is actually built solid for territory wars, territory battles, Grand Arena, the raids. These guys are just engineered for all facets of the game. Of course, you already have 3 of them in your arena team, which is why they're basically maxed out. But Mission and Zalbar are awesome. T3 is extremely underutilized, amazing droid, especially with other droids. Canderous has a future, I promise you, and Bastila Shan Fallen is a great use or counter to the Jedi Knight Revan teams that are out there. So with that said, I've given you 4 dark side, but this Old Republic tag is kind of a blend of dark and light. This would be kind of my last priority list for you, but the Old Republic, when they become farmable, the Sith focus that I told you about, Veers, First Order, and your Bounty Hunters. So nearly 2 million galactic power in less than a year, about 9 months. Pretty crazy. You're doing well again in both arenas, but remember, you've got to start branching out, start doing rebel ships, start doing the Geo ships. Particularly the Geo ships are more important. Get Anakin's ETA up, get Anakin himself up, get your reinforcements maxed out. The Zetas on Bosk, Kylo Ren Unmasked, and Veers are really critical to make those 3 teams pop. And then, of course, you want to continue your Sith focus and your Old Republic focus. If you do all of this, Gundam, you're going to be just fine over the next 6 months to a year in the game, and you'll be able to maintain dominance in both arenas. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. And for anybody that has ideas for Gundam, leave them as well in the comments down below, and keep your gaming on. Warrior out.